Hey, it's Jefferson, and it's been a long time since I've posted a video, and I was trying to just think of something to do this morning. It's a Saturday morning. The house is all quiet. Everybody's still asleep, except for me. I'm an early riser. But I'm at the end of the school year for giving author visits, and I've loved them so. It's the highlight of my job, giving author visits. I mean, you go to a school and you get those kids excited and get them laughing, and there's just nothing better. I don't want to do anything else. And so my series has been complete for, golly, I don't know when the last book was released. Maybe it's been 2 years now. Either way, it seems like longer, but I think it's only been 2 years. But The Kingdom at the End of the Driveway is complete. The 6 books that I originally had planned from the start are finished. And it's like I try to give as much insight at schools on the series, but honestly, there's so much to say. And I do have some videos talking about like the real Paco from the story. If you aren't familiar with Paco, he's a rat terrier who's one of the main characters in the Brave Journey, and maybe more. And I gave a little bit of an insight on him in a previous video, and I was thinking there are so many more great characters that I would love to talk about. So today I was like, well, why don't I talk about the pig, the pot-bellied pig named Clementine. He is one of the, let's see, Clementine, Paco, Roscoe, Benjamin. We got to add Malcolm. And let's say those are the 5 main characters. So Clementine, the pot-bellied pig, is one of the main characters. Okay, so why did I choose a pot-bellied pig to join Benjamin Biggs on this very dangerous journey into a very dangerous forest? And you also have to cross some dangerous pastures as well. Okay, the journey on the whole story is all about trying to find this giant 25-foot python's hidden barn in a mysterious forest. And I thought, okay, if this 12-year-old boy is taking this journey and all he has is a backpack of fireworks, let's be honest, the fireworks aren't going to work every time. So you're going to need some help. Well, we gave him the rat terrier, Paco. He's the wise old dog. He's the leader. I call him the leader of this group. But you need some backup. And so when I was thinking of what animals from this kingdom, this cave of hundreds, maybe 1,000 animals living together, who out of those animals could join him? Who could be brave enough? Maybe not brave enough, but maybe, let's say, dumb enough to join him, because it's a dangerous journey. Well, Clementine, the pot-bellied pig. I didn't want it to be an animal that would give Benjamin a huge advantage on his journey. He needed animals that their qualities weren't fierce and strength. You know, they weren't hunters. They were misfits. They were the outcasts. They were the animals that some people, farmers probably would call them worthless, or food, especially the pig. So I thought, well, let's give him a pot-bellied pig. Now here's why. When I was 18 years old, this was in 1995, I had a pot-bellied pig for a pet. So if you say that fast, that's hard to say. At that time, there was a lot of celebrities. Like you'd open magazines. There used to be all these celebrity magazines you could read, and they all had like pot-bellied pigs for pets. And they were like showing them walking their pig on a leash and everything, and it was really cool. I was like, wow, I would love to have a pot-bellied pig. And so in the newspaper, in the classified section there, you look for, animals for sale. And there was a farm an hour away that had pot-bellied pigs for sale. So I called them up, and I drove over there, and I bought my pig. And actually his name, he was a black pig, and his name was Kramer. Because I named him after, there's a show really popular called Seinfeld at the time. It was hilarious. I was a huge fan, and Kramer just fit. It was like, that's a great name for a pig, okay? So I had Kramer the pot-bellied pig, and here's the thing, all these celebrities would let their pigs stay in their house. At least they would show it like on the like a TV show. Come inside my mansion, and oh, there's my pig, And so I tried to house train Kramer, and it was obvious it wasn't going to work out. So we had to keep him outside. We lived out in the country. Actually, we lived in the house that the whole Brave Journey is set around, okay? So Kramer lived out there. He was outside. We didn't have a fenced-in yard. And I don't know if it was a month he was at the house, but about a month later, he ran away. But there was so many times I had to chase that pig because he would try to run off. And he was fast. I mean, he wasn't that big, but he was so fast. There were times I would have to just dive for him and catch him. And he could, whenever he was trying to run away, and if he was scared, he could whistle. He would like make this ear-piercing whistle. It was crazy. You could hear him from all over. Okay, I know our neighbors far away could hear this pig whistling because he. Anyway, that being said, I had a pig for a pet, a black pot-bellied pig. Okay, however, here's the whole Clementine. Okay, this is how Clementine came to be. When I was in high school, this was in the early 1990s through mid-1990s, there was this pet store near Andover. It was in Andover, Kansas, right outside of Wichita. So it was about 20 minutes from where I lived. And it was a really cool pet store. They sold feed, of course, but it was called John's Animal World. And John, the owner, and his wife, they had all these kind of like exotic stuff, pets. Not too exotic, but I know at times, I can't remember all the animals they had, but the only one I really cared about, they had this pig in the back of the store. And the pig was laying on a countertop, and and it was crazy because it was like this big fat white pig, and laying on a countertop because I can't believe it didn't want to get off. But there was a piece of paper taped to the counter, and it said, "Hi, my name is Clementine, and I love it when you scratch me behind the ear." And so my cousin John, who actually I'll talk about maybe in another video because there is a cousin John in the story who's very important. My cousin John, who's my age, John and I, when we were teenagers in high school, would drive to Andover, go to John's Animal World, the other John, and go to the back of the store and scratch this pig behind the ears like maybe like once or twice a week. We were always going to see Clementine the pig. And I know the owner, John, probably thought he was like, that's kind of strange. You high schoolers are wanting to come into my store just to see the pig. But we did. And every time you would scratch Clementine, she was actually a girl. She would like shriek. And this was before I got Kramer the pot-bellied pig, so she would shriek, make this really, high-pitched, I can't do it perfectly, but it was just like, it sounded like she was in pain, but Diane, John's wife, she said, "Oh, no, that's actually her way, that's her noise she makes when she likes something." And so So anyway, we would always go see Clementine the pig, and then I guess I don't know if Clementine went to somebody's house or I don't know what happened. They told me one time what happened, but they didn't have her for a long time. She went somewhere else and lived the rest of her life, I guess. So when it was time for when I was writing The Brave Journey, and I knew there had to be a pot-bellied pig, well, I thought of my pig Kramer, but as a black pig. But I didn't think that name would be appropriate. It was like that was too easy to name because Kramer was Kramer is a name that everybody in my generation, maybe younger generations, but definitely older generations, they have one person in mind, and it's Kramer from Seinfeld. You really don't hear any other Kramer as first names. But so I thought, well, I can't name this pig Kramer. And then it was like, obviously, this pig's going to have to be named Clementine. But I'm going to keep him a boy. He's going to be a black pot-bellied pig, but he's going to have a girl's name. And that fit in perfectly because there would be a fainting goat as his partner, his friend, who's going to tease him for having a girl's name because he's a boy. And I thought, well, that's going to just be fun having the two tease each other throughout the whole story. So that is Clementine, the pot-bellied pig. And he actually does turn out to be very useful. I try to use these animals, their weaknesses, they actually become their strengths throughout the story. And especially in later books. And, Clementine, through the entire series, he really does. He's got quite an arc. And here's what's crazy. I didn't have any, education that taught me about all these, I don't know if you would call them rules or what about writing. I didn't even know what a character arc was. I took college English, and I actually passed it. I think I took both of the college Englishes, but in that whole time, I never really memorized anything. I was just trying to get through to pass, okay? But nothing ever stayed in my head. So I didn't even know what a character arc was. Like, what does the character start out with, and what is its ultimate, what's the defining moment? What changes the character? Anyway, so Clementine has quite a character arc, and I love it. I just love his whole story in the entire series. It's very satisfying. And at the end of the final book, The Empty Throne, I love everything about it. I want to read through all the books just as an observer, or whatever you want to call it, not as an author, but just, I never have read through all 6 books just to enjoy them. I've always had to try to find stuff to use for the next book, and or I was reading the current book before it was turned into an actual hard copy book to find all these mistakes. So anytime I read my stories, a lot of times it's not for pleasure, it's just to study for the next book. But now that it's finished, I can't do that anymore. So I would just like to give a little bit more, share some secrets about some of the characters. And here's a wonderful secret. It's not a secret, but I loved John's Animal World when I was a kid, when I was in high school. That was a great place. And the owner was always a very nice guy to me. I think, I know he thought I was a little weird, and his wife, they were probably like, oh, there's those 2 high schoolers again. But he actually became my father-in-law 17 years after. I married his daughter, and wonderful, wonderful family, a wonderful wife, and John was a great father-in-law to have. He every time I'd mention Clementine, he just thought it was just so funny that I was one of those kids that wanted to come in and see his pig, decades before. And so, yeah, it was really fun, and it was awesome that my wife actually had a connection, like she knew who Clementine was, and so my wife was actually a part of the kingdom at the end of the driveway before we ever kind of reconnected many, many years later and got married. So that was really cool. So the guy who had Clementine became my father-in-law many years later, and it's just so neat. So that's the story of Clementine, the pot-bellied pig.